Hello, welcome. How to turn your single-shot Vectis sniper rifle into an AoE gas nuke. So it does that. Oh yeah, that's juicy. Of course, you don't have to use a grouping ability, but grouping abilities really are going to help you. So if you have a grouping ability, then use it. If you don't have a grouping ability, it can still be rather effective. Over 2 million headshot damage there. Especially if you're priming enemies, you have to really prime enemies for this to work. At its most effective, 3.3 million headshot damage. 3.3 million, yes! Very nice. Yeah, it's not bad as a single target weapon either. I would highly recommend using a grouping ability, as it just skyrockets the effectiveness of the build. So speaking of the build, so I'm here using Ivara. It doesn't really matter what frame you're using, as long as you're using a grouping ability. Ensnare's a really good grouping ability. It also stuns the Acolyte in place, so you can just lay the hurt. There's other ways to do that other than Ensnare, of course. You can use a Nautilus, for example. Nautilus is quite good for grouping. So again, the warframe setup doesn't really matter. As long as you have grouping, it should work quite well. However, I'm using Ivara simply because we're using sniper rifles and she gets that lovely headshot damage bonus from Prowl. We're using Arcane Rage, headshot on a headshot, more damage to primary weapons, and then this is just the build. You can use whatever you want, really, honestly, just use whatever you like. Now on to the meat of the build, the meat of the bone. The Vectis Prime. There's a little bit of variation that you can use here. But I find that the most optimal way to build the Vectis Prime, especially for this sort of setup, is with Galvanized Aptitude, which you wouldn't normally do on single target weapons unless you have a primer, which we do have, because we are using Diriger and the Hellstrom, which I'll get to in just a minute. But back to the Vectis Prime, building for crits and status. So the thing about your gas procs is that they don't actually scale from physical damage type mods, like Crash Course, for example. So Impact, Puncher, and Slash mods, the gas procs won't scale off of that, and they don't scale off of physical type, and elemental. So physical damage mods and elemental damage mods do not affect your gas procs or your Slash procs. So if you have like Infected Clip here, it's not going to really do anything for your gas procs, only your upfront damage. It would be optimal probably to have a Bane mod in here, but I just don't want to. Not a big fan of Bane mods, having to keep swap out, so I'm just using Habershot. Rifle Elementalist for more gas status effect damage. Galvanized Aptitude for more damage per status effects affecting the target. Using Malignant Force and Thermite rounds here for the gas, obviously for the gas. With Hammershot, Thermite rounds, and Malignant Force, and Galvanized Aptitude, we are over 100% status, which is very nice, with a 62.2% weighting towards gas. Lovely. And then we have Vital Sense, Critical Delay. Yes, you could use Galvanized Scope. I don't like Galvanized Scope. I just don't like it. You know, personal preference. I don't like it. You can use it if you like it. Not for me. Not my cup of tea. Hush, so we don't break invisibility on Ivara. Primary Deadhead for that extra headshot multiplier and base damage. So you can actually change things around. If you don't want to use Galvanized Aptitude and you don't have a primer, or you're not using a Sentinel to prime for you, you can stick Semi-Rifle Cannonade in here. It will work relatively similar, actually. It's not too much of a difference, but Galvanized Aptitude is better. Activate Prowl. Yeah. It's nice. It's still very, very good, very, very powerful, even without Galvanized Aptitude. Galvanized Aptitude just makes it that much better. It just makes it a little bit better. But you do need a primer to use Galvanized Aptitude. So, if you don't want to use a primer, you don't want to have the hassle of priming enemies, this works absolutely fine with Semi-Rifle Cannonade for most purposes. It's just Galvanized Aptitude, just a little bit better with a primer. Speaking of which, you can use a secondary to prime for you. I've got the Epitaph here. For my priming purposes today, I'm using the Diriger. And we're using the Diriger with Arc Coil, Manifold Bond, Duplex Bond, Mystic Bond for a little bit of sustain, and Moventus Bond to add another element. Manifold Bond essentially gives you really fast cooldowns on your abilities for your Sentinel, such as Arc Coil. Every time you kill an enemy affected by 3 or more unique status effects, which you'll be doing all the time. Duplex Bond, it will clone itself for every 100 energy. This basically just creates another little Diriger that goes around The clone version of Diriger won't use Arc Coil, but it will use the Hellstrom, which is in of itself a very good primer. Mystic Bond is just there every now and then, cast your ability for free. Pretty good. Momentous Bond, killing an X+ units grants an extra 120% bonus to a random element to your companion's weapon. Just more status effects, so you can get a little bit more damage out of your Galvanized. I don't remember what it's called. Galvanized Aptitude, that's the one. Yeah. Then on the Hellstrom, I've gone for Viral because I'm using it as a viral procker. We've got Heat and Radiation. These Vigilante mods are just for other builds that I use. It's just a generic primer. This is just what I use all the time for generic priming. We're using the Epiter. We've got the Epiter just in case I want to prime manually, and then the Glaive Prime is literally just a little bit of a backup weapon. It's just a cookie cutter charge tap. And it works like a charm. It does beautiful. Okay, on to the gameplay. Let's go. Okay, got Diriger spreading status effects and dead. I love it. Something so satisfying about bringing a single target sniper rifle and just nuking groups of enemies at a time. Oh yeah. Oh, that felt good. Oh, I do have to note as well, I do have radiation on my primer on Diriger. If you don't want enemies shooting around you, if you're using something like invisibility like I am here, and you don't want to risk enemies shooting you specifically while they're shooting each other, then you can just say take the radiation off. It's fine. You probably want to take off Duplex Bond. Yeah, take off Duplex Bond as well, because the enemy's going to be firing at your... Like you can see there, they're firing at the clone sentinel. It's not a big issue for me. It's fine. I don't mind too much. But you might not want that. You might not want enemies shooting around the place. You might just want a nice chilled out experience. I don't blame you. Oh, that's beautiful. I loved it. So I'm going to wait a little bit here. Let's wait for the sentinel, the acolyte. Wait for the acolyte to spawn in. Do a bit of grouping on him. That's not a lot of enemies. Oh. Deleted. Let me know if you're a bit of a gas fan yourself down in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.